opinion,
I
in
know.
my opinion, this is season 9, episode 38, number
I love it. This
386.
this is what's kind of cool too. It almost seems like we have a guest today.
Right. And
So every time I address you as Chids, okay, you need to be in your laptop camera. And
okay,
then when I flip and I'm like, yes, we have Roland with us today. I need you to turn and look at your iPad camera.
right.
Yeah, perfect. There we go.
Let's
Just
see if I can figure that out because
oh, it's way too much. It's
this
chewing
is
gum
just
and walking.
absolutely ridiculous. So
Yeah,
for our millions of listeners, I'm traveling, and so I'm like, I can make this happen today. I've been waking up early, like my regular time, and I know
good for you. Good for you.
sometimes when I travel, I don't. I
Right.
sleep in. I stay up later. I sleep in, but I've been getting up. So I kind of got the trend, and I'm like, well, if you're available, then let's just do our podcast like we normally do.
Mm-hmm.
But then I was having all kinds of tech issues over here, and then finally we've gotten it to work.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why there's two of me, and this one's doing this and this one's doing that, and it's like it works, so let's just do it. Good morning, Rochelle. Welcome to Saturday morning of summer school. This is our second episode of summer school, I believe. Is that right, Chris? This is our second
Yeah.
podcast since school's ended. Yeah.
Yep.
So, dude, like, I don't even know where to begin. You and I were talking about some stuff in the on ramp, but we landed on you posted some pictures on Instagram of
Mm-hmm.
your time in Toronto with your wife, and
Mm-hmm.
these are I know the background. I know some history to these things, and some of the history, without giving away your story, is that you're interested in pursuing photography in a particular way. You're interested in some projects. You're interested in, from a general perspective, I think it's fair to say, taking the tools and the toolkit you've created as a teacher out into the world and applying it in the, I'm going to call it the real world, even though school
Yeah.
is the real world. Outside of that, and of all that, you do this thing which is humanity, where you speak to other humans. And
I like that frame that way. Yeah, I do
yeah,
humanity.
you
Yeah.
you do humanity, and I call it cluffing. So you'll
Yep.
tell me, and this all started with grocery pickup at Walmart, where you would purposefully start a chat with the person who was delivering the groceries to your car,
Mm-hmm.
which I know to any normal person, it sounds like, well, what's so weird about that? Well, what's weird? It's not weird. What it is, whereas I say hello to the person, hey, how are you? Good morning or good afternoon. This is my name. Are these my groceries? Yes. Okay, awesome. And as they're putting the groceries in the car, I'm on my phone and they're doing their thing. Whereas you will purposefully engage with them. Whereas I'm not, or I don't. Anyway, I call that cluffing, where you purposely engage in humanity. And I've been cluffing on this trip, this particular trip this summer. I've been cluffing, and I've been loving every minute of it. And my son, who normally would be embarrassed by it, hasn't been. It's been a great kind of experiment, actually, where I say to my son, watch this, and we just dive into it. And he's not, oh, you're so embarrassing. He's not doing any of that, because he's like, no, let's see what happens here. And there's been a lot of the theme of this trip so far, and it's coming to an end soon, but I would say the theme of this trip has been taking risks, and entering into spaces that we are not invited in. And I know it might, I don't know how that sounds to you, but to me, it's just, I have some stories that I'm sure you'll hear about along the way, of things we've done, or places we've been to, where normally I just see something and be like, oh, whatever. Like, I don't work there. I don't volunteer there. I don't belong to that group. So I'm not going to try to push my luck in this space, to looking at my son and being like, who cares? We're not doing anything criminally wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you have to start looking at the layers. We're not doing anything criminal, and somebody doesn't like us in this space who may have authority over it, they can just say, excuse me, can I help you? Like, what are you doing here? And then I would tell them what I'm doing there, and then they would say, well, you're gonna have to leave or whatever. And it's like, okay, no problem. Like, no problem. We're not here to cause trouble. This is our mission, and we're seeing if we can complete our mission. And my son's been really good about it. And I think he's really learning my hope as a dad and as a man and as a human is that he's building he's building some of his like life confidence, humanity confidence, seeing sometimes it doesn't work, but seeing sometimes it does work. And when it does, it's a great story, and it's um, a great human interaction. And I will give you one of them, not now, but I like as we're talking, I will give you one of the stories and let you in on something we did that we did and we were human, and that we talked to another human in a real way that felt good. It went from cheesy, because these things start cheesy, and then it turned into, that was a really nice interaction. I'm glad we did that. So that's where I'm coming from this morning.
I like that. So this is before I met Gary, before I met Rochelle, and the whole going to Walmart and getting my groceries. I think that you and I and others, and maybe even Rochelle and Gary too, can sort of attest to, there was many people had this kind of moment of noticing the disconnect. Like, we were doing all this work to sort of connect with the students and connect with the families, and having a staff meeting virtually. We did all this virtual work, and there was like low key dissatisfaction with the social energy of that. So one of the ways that I where my networking, my craving to network came out, it ironically was having conversations with actually people that were still working in the service industry while so many other industries were not interacting. And I was the one going out getting the groceries. I haven't actually stopped using the Walmart ordering system um, since COVID. Like, I think what are we now, 6 years since, I might have gone and done, like, I haven't done a full grocery shopping since. Like, I've done picks at different places, but I haven't done a full grocery shopping for the week since I started using the online stuff. And that's just a thing, just mentioning that. So while I was there, my creative mind and uh, the way I noticed things, I started to sort of my empathy just ramped right up. And when I like coupled that with the creativity and my curiosity, the conversations with individuals that were still involved in the service industry, I think there was an element too of me being involved in hospitality in the past. Like, I get the mindset that it takes to constantly deal with different personalities all the time, providing a product or a service all the time. I get it. I was in the service industry. So me just observing, sometimes at a distance, sometimes at close, sometimes from a direct conversation. I did my series of I did two sort of series of creative series, word-based stuff. I did the In September one. I don't know if you remember that, way back in the day, where I was just posting some stark white on black writing on Instagram. And very much that was I don't know what the hell the world expects me to do in dealing with COVID right now. So it was just very much like almost like online journaling about the angst and frustration and fear about what would happen next. And then it's funny, the next version of that was the Walmart stories. I'm starting to realize, writing these poems, these sometimes long form narrative poems about interactions with people, and giving it shape, and sometimes giving it some fiction, like that thing that you do when you meet a person for the first time. You're trying to imagine all the things about them. You don't just take it sometimes eye to eye, like, this person just direct. You try and sort of shape it. And I think as soon as you start to shape it, it's your soul and your brain craving a deeper connection. And you either do it because you get the words from them, you get the evidence, or your brain just does it. You're fascinated about the person. I think the final phase of this, if it's a three-stepper, is with the photography and approaching people and asking them directly. So I think, I don't know if you were searching for the word, but the style that I create to do is the street photography. And street photography it kind of has to have two components to it. From my understanding, is that it has to have people in it, and it has to sort of obviously be like sort of on the street, like out in public. Depending on what kind of lens you use, if you decide to use a telephoto lens, well, that's the most antisocial, safe way that you can take a photo, because you can be 200 meters away and zoom right up to someone if you choose to spend, a couple grand on a really great lens. But in doing so, that distance removes interactivity, which removes the intimacy, which removes the story, which removes the humanity. Duck, 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 duck. So in my photography, the lens that I was using. Do you want me to talk about this? Is this? Should I go this deep? I'll end off on this because it gets into kind of like,
well, you
can sort of like photo nerdiness just a little bit, but it's photo nerdiness connected with the cluffing. So
yes, and I want you to land with the image. I want you to land with the image that
Greg?
You posted on. Yes, where I said to you, "Hey, did you talk to this guy? Because did you cluff this guy?"
Yeah. So one of the things I have, when I say I discovered, I'll say I discovered it for me. Millions of photographers already knew this shit, but I discovered it for me. So in the world of photography, you have lenses, which are the kind of like your I don't even know how to describe a lens. It is the thing that sits on the front of your camera that it's like your glasses, right? It adjusts how the camera sees the world. And there's a whole bunch of little details to it, but just the lenses that I'm enjoying using right now are called prime lenses. And all that means is they kind of have a very singular function. It's not a zoom. You can't do a lot of different things. So basically, by using prime lenses, you have very specific distances that the photo will look good from. So if you imagine, you see this distance between my hands? So just imagine that, and you like cast it like a fisherman out in front of you. And only the things that land accurately between those two lines will you be able to see. Everything else will be out of focus. So that's kind of like a really dressed down way. So the lens that I'm enjoying using right now, one's a 50 millimeter and the other one's a 35 millimeter. The 35 millimeter in the photography world is kind of understood as like, it's kind of like our natural field of vision. So your natural field of vision, unaugmented by glasses, actually only has kind of like a prime focal zone, like a distance from you. When you go to get an eye doctor test, they sit you at a very specific distance to be able to focus on the letters on the wall. If you move outside of that distance, and anybody that's gone for an eye exam, you don't see the letters as well, or you have to really squint to do it well. Squinting adjusts your focal length, it's called, to where you can actually see things. So the photos that I was taking that day when I was out, the one of Greg, I had another one there of a skateboarder. I had someone standing on a street corner. Those were all taken with the 50 millimeter lens, and 50 millimeter is amazing for street photography at like let's say 200 meters distance. It's nice and crisp and clean. You can see the city, or within 2 foot distance. You have to be up quite close. And when you get up quite close, you get what's called the bokeh effect, which is like focus on the person as long as they fall in that zone, and everything else is sort of soft and blurry. A lot of photos really like that. People like that. So as we're walking, we parked the car. Karen was there having to do, we were actually there for Karen had to do something in the city. So as we were there an hour early before her appointment was up. So we walked about. We were going to a Starbucks. And as I came around the corner, there's this dude there. I'm like, man, with the background, the sharp orange, and just the look of the guy, I'm like, he's a fascinating looking dude. And I had just said that to Karen, like, oh, that dude's fascinating. And as soon as that, it was like lightning. I turned. I'm like, dude, can I take your photo? And he's this is the thing that I've noticed when I've asked this question. There was this. Oh, yeah, sure. And so as soon as he said sure, his hands dropped beside him and he looked me dead eye, snap, 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 grabbed it. That was it. It was gone. I went up. I'm like, dude, my name's Chris. Thanks. I said, I'm learning how to do better photography. He's like, cool, man. I'm Greg. I'm like, nice to meet you, Greg. And we walked on. So it wasn't full because if I had been just me, if it had just been me, I probably would have talked to him a little bit more. I would have had a little bit more Clough moment. But because we were trying to get a coffee in and Karen was a little bit nervous about the actual meeting she was going to have. So it was kind of about supporting her process, right? Mm-hmm. So, but I will say those 3 stages of approaching the humanity, you know, the writing in September and then the Walmart stories, there feels like a very natural progression towards connection. And, you know, the photography on one hand, as well as me being involved in, you know, the other creative arts like theater and drawing and painting, all that kind of stuff. I think these are all things that they're multidimensional, but on one hand, it's also how am I setting up interesting things to do once I retire? Mm-hmm. And it just really, like, I actually wake up, I have coffee, and inevitably in the morning, I think to myself, where can I take my camera to go get some photos? To sort of see the world, capture the world. And I've made some really cool connections of other creatives that I respect, you know, I guess in the photography world, so to speak. So I'm digging it. And yeah, I'm not trying to fame. It's funny as I'm saying this, I almost think like I'm trying to sell best life kind of options here. At the heart of it, I want to bring it back to what you had said, is that cloughing or that connection and conversation. And recognizing that we have moments, and they're fleeting, but they are there, I do believe, where the universe says, here's an opportunity for you to interact with the world around you. Will you do it? And it could be anything as simple as seeing a piece of garbage on the ground. And you notice it, and there's something in your brain that says, that shouldn't be there. Do you pick it up or not? Choose your adventure. There's the walking past a fence post and you see a little sign that says no fun. The universe is offering you an opportunity there to interact. Do you take a picture of it? Do you read what the actual language is on it, like to go a little bit deeper, or do you just move on? Can you spend time in the space between A and B? And what do you do when you spend time in the space between A and B? And you can waste a whole lot of fucking time. Whew, I haven't said that in a while. A whole lot of time. In between the spaces A and B. I think with the cloughing, I'm starting to find some really fascinating slices between the A and the B. And so far, and it's slow growth, so far, they've all been really fruitful, man. They've all been really fruitful. Some of them, you know, not all of them are as kind of cool as talking to Greg. Or one of my poems, you know, talking to Sahib about the 3 jobs that he's working, including Walmart. But they don't care. They just want you there on time. They don't care, right? But there is, I feel like I have this, I won't say an affinity, but I'm tapping into some of you. What the way this started was you talking about the tools of connection that we've kind of learned from being in schools, where we're kind of we're confronted with this idea that there's a whole lot that happens between A and B. I think what might happen is when we remove ourselves from that framework of work, we tell ourselves, now I owe myself time to just sit and decompress and be on the couch and do things that are nothing like my job. Because my job's pretty intense too. But finding the utility of some of those tools in real life is kind of a cool new way. You and I talked about this a few years back. I know I talked about it with Tina Zita. And the thing about the investment in school, if you can't actively see how it's actually improving your own personal life, you got to change something. Because to do all that investment into a job that ultimately, and I get I'm talking from privilege because I'm talking about a job that's fairly stable. I get it. I'm talking about a job where the leadership I have access to. I'm talking about a job where there's laws, rules, and support systems for me to actually make the choices that help me. I get all that. So with that all being said, how am I using those tools for better connection? And, the worst thing that I want to have happen is for when I have an interaction with Greg, for him to go home that night and say to someone, you know what happened today? It was really weird. This dude walking with his female friend asked if he could take my picture. Some rando asked to take my picture. I think his name was Chris or Clough or something. For them to be able to tell that story, I'm happy. I'm happy. It feels like I've built this little thin kind of thread of connection. So that's the Clough and backstory. Thanks for tolerating it.
Yeah, no problem. If our listeners have a problem, they'll leave us a comment and let us know.
Yeah, for sure.
So, listening to you when you used to tell me about the different people at Walmart that you interacted with in the 10 minutes that you were there getting your groceries delivered to your car, I would just laugh it off and be like, yeah, okay. Well, Chris has got some time and he's chatting with people, and there's nothing abnormal about that. But there is something abnormal about it in that when you get out into the real world, kind of as I've been traveling with my son, I've seen that more people than not don't look interested in engaging for whatever reason. And this isn't a criticism. This is just it's an observation. So from my perspective in my world, looking out, and I've been looking for opportunities to Clough because we've been in some pretty neat situations and in some neat spaces where it's like, I wonder if that person knows a little bit about what I'm engaged with right now or what I want to be doing. And then if they do know, I wonder if they'd be willing to provide me with some information to help me along my way. So like very, very useful, practical type stuff, and not just walking down the street and stopping somebody saying, hey, good morning, my name is, and that could happen as well. But there's less context there than what I'm talking about. And I'm talking about some more contextualized situations. So let me give you one of them. So my son that I'm traveling with right now, he's a bit of a history buff. He likes history. He is learning. He's learned some stuff in school that then he's gone on his own time and done some research and some reading and some YouTubing and stuff about certain things. So yesterday, we found ourselves downtown Ottawa, and he did a project in history where he did a project on Winston Churchill, and so he had to learn a lot about Winston Churchill as a character to figure out who this man was, and he learned a lot about him. So we're in Ottawa, we're downtown, and I say to my son, look, we are very close to the Chateau Laurier Hotel, and in that hotel, there's a famous photograph of Winston Churchill. So I'm like, do you want to see it? It was, he's like, yeah, let's see it. And I said, I added a little bit more lore to this story and said, when I was your age, or basically whenever I was downtown Ottawa and I had the opportunity to go into the Chateau Laurier, I would always go into the Chateau Laurier and I would look at the photographic work of the artist, the photographer. His last name is Karsh. I don't know if you've heard of him, Yusuf Karsh. He's a Canadian Armenian, which is also interesting because I'm half Armenian. So I'm kind of I would always go into the Chateau Laurier and I would always see some of the work that's in there. And the two most popular pieces that I would always look at would be the Albert Einstein photograph and the Winston Churchill photograph. And then I told my son that a few years back, someone stole the Winston Churchill photograph from the Chateau Laurier, and it was a really big deal, and yada, yada, yada. The police found out who did it, and they got the portrait back. So I'm like, that's the story, and do you want to go see it? He's like, yes. Okay. So we go into the Chateau Laurier, and right away I'm like, something's different here. The layout's different. And now all of a sudden, Winston Churchill is not just hanging on a wall that's accessible to the public. Winston Churchill, all of Karsh's photos are in a cafe. They've created like a cafe / restaurant in that what was once an open sitting space is now a restaurant. So I look at my son, he looks at me. I'm like, okay, so we're at the open space where there's the hostess and the computer and all that stuff. And I can see the Einstein photograph. So I say, hey, look, there's the Einstein photograph. And there are two people at a table eating their croissant and drinking their coffee. And right there above them is Einstein. So they've paid to be in there, right? And my son says, well, what are we going to do? I said, we're going to go in there and we're going to find the Churchill portrait and we're going to take a picture with it and we're going to enjoy it. And he's like, but are we going to go in and get something to eat and drink? And I said, no, we're not. And he's looking at me like, like, are you serious? Like, we're going to go into a space where we have no business being. We're not even going to like pay to play. I'm like, no, I'm not buying a $20 coffee and a croissant to get a picture of the Winston Churchill. No way. I'm not doing that today. So I'm like, let's walk down the hall and let's figure out our plan and then we'll come back. Mm-hmm. So as I'm walking down the hall, there's a gentleman, I don't know what you call them, like not a bellboy, but like a concierge. Mm-hmm. And we do this dance in the hallway. He's got one of those big carts and he's driving and he smiles at my son and I. He's like, good morning, hello, bonjour. And we're like, hey, how are you? He's like, good. And he's like, I'm really sorry I got in your way. This cart's really big. Like, he's being very respectful and very friendly. So I acknowledge that. I'm like, no, don't worry about it. Like, you do your thing. You're busy. You're working. So there's more to come with this guy. But he leaves, right? So he's going to do his job. We find a corner. And so I'm like, okay, this is what we're going to do. We're going to go back. We're going to go back to the reception area. And when the hostess leaves and the lady that's in charge of reservations walks away, we're walking in. And I tell my son, we're going to walk in confident and we're going to walk in like we belong there. And if by chance somebody says, can I help you? We'll say, yeah, we're looking for the Winston Churchill photograph that, we're visiting from out of town. We'd like to see it. Worst comes to worst, they'll say, oh, what table are you at? Or who's your waitress? And we'll say, oh, no, we're not. We're just visiting to see the portrait. And what are they going to say? I'm sorry, sir, you can't be in here right now. This is like people are eating and drinking. Great. Thanks for your time. We'll leave. So Will's like, okay. And he's nervous. And I'm like, I understand. I'm feeling it too. But for me, it's more adrenaline rushing through my veins. And this is a challenge and a mission and a moment for me to be a good dad, I guess, in trying to show my son something and teach him how to talk to people and how do you operate in a situation where you need something and you want something, but you don't want to play by their rules. I don't want to go in there properly and get a coffee or whatever. How do you do this? How do you operate the world? So I tell him, hey, are we doing anything criminal? He's like, no. I'm like, then relax. Like, we're not breaking any laws. Because I'm trying to show him there's a difference between being a criminal and being just a normal person who's curious and would like to experience something. There's a big difference there because we could be, if we're doing something criminal, then I shouldn't be teaching my kid that. Anyway, hostess leaves, the other lady leaves, let's go. We walk in, and we walk in, we're smiling at people and stuff, and he's like, I don't see it, it's not here. I'm like, no, take it easy, we'll walk around the bar area, and we're walking. I'm like, there it is, spot it. I'm like, he's right there. And he couldn't have been in a worse spot, because he was tucked in a corner, and by that corner was a server's area, like a table with glasses and a computer for them to enter in their orders. I'm like, this is really not good, because now we're not only are we in a space we shouldn't really be in, but we're in a space where, like, that's where the servers work. And it's like, it's just different now, because now we're really, even if you are in a restaurant, nobody walks over to the server's computer area and does whatever. They just don't. People don't. Anyway,
Right.
so we go over there. I snap like 3 pictures of Churchill. And then I'm like, get in here, stand beside it so we can get a picture of you with it, because you're the one that's like learning all these things and whatever. So we get the picture, and then we turn around, we start walking out, and he is like, he's beaming now. He's all excited. He got to see this photograph with, it's been stolen and it's been returned, and Karsh took the photo, like all the history of it, right? So we step out, and we're kind of talking about the experience and how we got away with it, really. And then as we're getting ready to like go up another hallway and look at some other stuff, we see the concierge or the porter, whatever his job is. And he's like, "Oh, hello, it's nice to meet up with you again. Can I help you with anything? Like, are you?" He was being genuine. I believe he's being very genuine, because you can tell when someone's like, "Do you belong here?" He wasn't like that at all.
Yes.
I'm like, actually, we're traveling, and so I start cluffing. I'm like, well, F this. If you want to engage in a conversation, let's engage in a conversation. So I tell him, hey, we just walked into the cafe. I was a little bit disappointed that the portraits on the wall, there's a cafe, and his name was Maxime, and he had a French accent. So he probably lives in Gatineau or something, but he was like, oh, no, no, sir. He goes, I'm sorry that you feel like you're not welcome. He goes, it is, no. He was like, I'm sorry that you feel like you're disappointed that it's in a place now that's not as easily as accessible as it used to be. But he goes, no, no, I would have taken you in there myself to the portrait if you told me you wanted to see it. No, you're visiting. This is the Chateau Laurier. We don't, hold back. We're here to serve. We're here to make sure it's the best stay possible. And I'm looking at this guy, and I'm like, I'm digging this. I appreciate your position. I appreciate how you're doing your job, and how you are truly demonstrating, like, this is real humanity. You can tell I'm not a vagrant. I'm not here to cause problems. I'm with my son. We're touring. We're doing stuff. He was amazing. So this is where it gets. So we go back and forth, right? And then he says, what are you guys doing next? And I said, we have some tours in Parliament, and then we are going to the Governor General's house. He goes, okay. He goes, it might rain. It might rain today. I'm like, yeah, I might have to pick up an Uber, because I'm not interested in walking in the rain. And you know what he says? He goes, no, sir, monsieur, if you decide you want to walk, just come back and find me. We've got umbrellas here. I'll give you a couple of umbrellas for you to walk down the street. We'll take care of it. And Will's looking at me like, is this guy for real? This guy doesn't know us from a hole in the wall. And he's like, if you need an umbrella, I'll give you the umbrella, and you'll bring it back when you're done. And I'm like, how do you know that? And he's like, well, I don't know that. But you're touring. You came in here. You're willing to talk to me. And he's like, you come back to Chateau Laurier. You find me. We'll take care of you. And I'm like, and I didn't get a shyster vibe. I got a real deal. This guy's good at his job. And one day he'll be managing the front desk. You get what I'm saying? Anyway, so Will and I leave, and he's looking at me. He's like, did that just happen? I'm like, that just happened. We go where we want to go and where we need to go, and we're polite about it. And if we're asked to leave, we leave. But you also meet people along the way, and you engage. and you see what comes of that. Some people, and on this trip, there were a couple of times that I've engaged and people just looked away from me and walked away.
Yes.
And Will's like, damn, Dad, that's rude. And I'm like, yo, I've done that to people before. So,
We all do that.
right. So it's
That.
like I
The
said to
thing.
him, don't take offense. I've done that to people too. So it's not like, I've done it. For whatever reason, they don't want to engage. And that's okay. Not everybody wants to engage at whatever particular time one party decides they want to engage. But I said, Maxime is working. He's probably got a long shift. He's probably got some shit jobs to do. What's better than interacting with a couple of people who may be staying in the hotel or who are just touring from out of town? I said, was he helpful? Will's like, yeah. I said, he was really kind. I said, I'm going to remember this for a very long time, this experience. Here's Winston on the wall. And in one of the photos, I don't want to show Will's face, but you can see the wine glasses right underneath him to the right, like at the station. Anyway, so yeah, we went into the Chateau Laurier and I was able to snag the picture of Winston, and Will was able to get in on it too. Now, had he wanted Einstein, we would have had a problem because there were two people enjoying their breakfast and Einstein was right there with them. So it was like, what do you do there? Do we have enough gall to say, excuse me, I'm very sorry.
Exactly. So
right
there's your level 2, right? That's your level 2. Can you keep it
outside the chateau looking at it before we enter and cause some havoc?
It's like, how can you? It's funny because that moment, there's a tension there. This cafe is set up like a gallery. You've been told you're welcome to go in. And at the exact same time, you have these little micro universes as well, with two people sitting at a table, a two-seater, them not expecting that the universe is going to interrupt them at all, despite the fact they're in a public place. There's always this chaos that happens when the universe reminds you that it's there. And for some people, it's painful, and it can be slightly disruptive to sort of when the universe reminds you that, okay, yes, you have your systems, you have what you believe are your accords, your agreements, your contracts with the universe, table for two, off to the side. Yet at the exact same time, if you're really noticing, you have to keep in your system the fact that you are sitting in it's a private property, but a public space in a private property, and that everyone can see you. Everyone that's near you can hear you, and that you are actually on display, just like that photo on the wall. So you are a part of somebody else's experience. This is the thing that I find fascinating about the whole, street photography, is that you are a part of somebody else's universe, even when you try not to. Believe me, I've seen, standing in when I was standing there, I did. It hasn't worked out. It didn't work out because I was test driving a look, like a tool to take photos, and I think I'm onto something, but I haven't quite finessed it yet. And what I did was I put myself around a corner that I noticed a lot of people were turning to get to a crosswalk. And as people turned the corner, I would, and face towards me, I would take a snap of them. Literally, like people were coming, I'm like, snap, snap, snap. Now, I did this in a little bit of a kind of a paparazzi way, is that right behind them across the street, there was a active construction site. So I knew that if someone came around the corner, that I raised the possibility that them, in the moment they realized I took a photo of them, they may just look behind them and go, oh shit, he's taking a photo of the construction site. They just happened to walk into my lens range, right? And no one said anything, but there was some intentionality there. But what I was looking to do was to capture people just coming around the corner. So they're not prepared to be photoed. They're not necessarily polished. I'm catching them in the middle of their universe. And so many people downtown, like downtown Toronto, and you maybe noticed this, walking with the headphones on, which I get. This is something that we do. But it also further insulates in a kind of weird virtual way that the exterior isn't going to interfere with the interior. And I know that some individuals, because of sensory challenges, like they will put on their headphones because that outside world is just too much for them. I get it. But there can't be that many people walking downtown Toronto with sensory issues. They're just have their headphones, right? Like there's other reasons. So I like this moment that you're pointing out of, the two people sitting in front of another photo that you wanted to really see or spend more time with or to become more intimate with. I totally get how you were bringing the universe to that table. You would be bringing the reminder that, yes, you are on public display, you lovely couple, but can I just take a photo of that photo for a second? Rest assured that after you left, their cone of micro universe would have fallen back on them again. Like they would have been able to restore that, short of you clearing the table off and sipping their latte or whatever. Like you're not looking to be that disruptive. They would have sort of reestablished the normalcy. I love it. That was the first thing. Second thing I just want to mention, my experience with Yusuf Karsh was actually, I saw his photos, which include, I think it was maybe a print. It wasn't the original. There was one of Clinton. There was one of, I think the Churchill one was there as well. The who's the writer? Ernest Hemingway is another famous photo from them. And Karsh really loves these super intense, stormy, black and white kind of photos, with a slightly brownish tinge to it. Like there's a slight brown in that gray zone. I saw his photos actually at Pier 21 in Halifax. Pier 21 is a historical museum about this pier, which I think was originally Pier 2 or Pier 3, where people arrived to Canada. And I went through there and I saw old boarding passes and photos and some things from my Polish history as well. And Yusuf Karsh at the time had a small installation there. So I saw some of those images in a completely different province, and with a lot clearer access to it because it was a art installation. It wasn't in a cafe, so it didn't have the same layers. So that's cool. I like that we have that shared. I think, and that was before. I mean, I've always played with photography, but I think that was before I started like I want to get better at photography. But seeing his photos, and he's taken photos of many people, like lots, diplomats, artists, politicians. He's taken a lot of really great photos. So that's cool. I like the Armenian connection you're making too. That's cool. It's all cool. It's cool to sort of notice yourself in the universe, like and to feel safe and okay about it. It's cool.
Yeah. It's been interesting. So that's been the theme of the trip so far, and
I like
trip's not over yet. So let's see where else we can take risks and be in spaces that we're probably trained to think we don't belong. A funny thing happened when we were in Montreal. This is like a Roland thing, I guess. So I always joke with both of my boys about when I was in university, in my downtime, when I didn't feel like studying, didn't have class, but I was still on campus. Sometimes there was an article in the newspaper at Carleton about the best bathrooms for privacy, which obviously, as you can imagine, after that article, they were not the best bathrooms for privacy anymore because everybody knew about them.
Right.
So the joke was, I told both my boys, I just walk around the buildings and I discover quiet spaces where I could study or where there was a bathroom that kind of felt like my own. And so, if I had to go to the bathroom really bad or whatever, I would seek out one of the the preferred areas that were less traveled and not a lot of people around them, right? So when we were in Montreal, one of the things he wanted to do was tour McGill University, and I'm like, great. And so I started doing research, and at McGill University, in one of the arts building, there's a theater. And one of the things that everybody that I had read about said, like, hey, when you get there, if the theater doors are open, go into the theater. Like, you got to see the theater. I'm not a big theater guy, as you know, but I'm like, no, I want to check that out. We should check this out, right? And so we get there and we go in, and there were barriers everywhere. First of all, there was a conference happening in that building. So there were like 2 desks in front of the theater doors, and there were all these people and all these signages and wires for their computers. And I'm looking at my son. He's like, don't do it. I'm like, F this. Like, really? They parked themselves right in front of the theater, but they're not even using the theater. So it's just like one more test to see how do you walk behind people's tables where they're working and start trying to open doors, right? So I'm like, no, we'll figure it out. I will figure this out. I will find a way to try to open those doors to see if they're open or not, because I want to see the theater. And he's like, I'm like, but what? Do you want to apply to university here? He goes, well, I'm considering it. I said, then we're on tour. We're trying to figure out the university. We're not, again, I'm like, what are you thinking? I'm thinking, as your old man, if you come to school here, I can kiss all my money goodbye. So I'm invested, and I want to see what's going to come with that investment. And he's just like shaking his head. I'm like, am I not right? I'm like, you're a prospective student. He's like, I am. I'm like, there you go. That's what we tell people when they say, what are you doing here? So there's a little bit of me being a bit of a jerk, but also saying, like, open your mind a little bit. Like, again, we're not doing anything criminal. So what's the problem here? The problem is I'm guilty of training you to follow these unwritten rules because that's what I learned. So I'm like, let's break some of this a little bit and let's think outside the box a little bit. So I'm like, I'll ease you into it. Let's tour the rest of the building and then we'll find a way to get around these people. Long story short, I go to the basement of the building because I'm thinking there was a sign for the costume design area is in the basement. So I'm like, we're going to the basement. Why? Well, because if the costume design area is in the basement, there's got to be a way to get in the theater from that space. So we're not walking in the front doors. We're walking in stage right in the basement, and we're going to go up a stairwell. And next thing you know, we're going to find ourselves in the theater. And he's like, Dad, are you serious? I'm like, let's go. So, and I've got a great picture that I got just for you. So we're downstairs. We're in the bowels of this building, and the building's, I don't know, 100 years old. So you can imagine how hot it was down there and how it looked like a 100-year-old basement, right? And we're navigating these hallways and we're trying to find all the theater stuff that happens back there or whatever. So we find a stairwell. It looks like a janitor's stairwell. And I'm like, well, the door is open and there's nobody home. So we start walking through this and he's like, Dad, what are we doing? I'm like, we're exploring and now we're lost. So if somebody were to say, what are you doing here? We're like, I'm sorry, we're lost. We're looking for the costume design area, right? Anyway, we come up to a door that would lead into the theater, the back end, but it was locked. And I'm like, okay, well, we're not going to pick the lock. We're not going to try to break in. It's locked. So we're going to go back down. So anyway, we come back down and we find this room where they design the costumes and stuff. And it was beautiful. I took a picture to show you through the window. But then as we were leaving to go back to humanity, I look to the side and I see this bathroom that's just there. And I say to my son, do you see this bathroom? He goes, yeah. I go, I bet you it's never used. It's like in the middle of the dungeon. And so I say to him, if you come to McGill and you're in the arts building and you need to use the bathroom and there's 1 million people at the ones upstairs where all the normal folk go, this is one of the found bathrooms that you can use. He's like, I'm not part of the theater department. I'm like, there's a janitor's room right there that's wide open. there's 5 million hallways down here that lead in all different places, and there's this bathroom that's right around this corner that looks like it's been here since 1900 that you could use if you have to. I'm sure it's always available. And he just laughed at me, but I'm like, mental note, right? That bathroom is there, and I'm sure nobody uses it. So anyway, that's a little bit of a bathroom story, but we were doing that the whole time we were there. We walk up to a space and I'd go to open the door, and he's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm checking to see if we can go into this space." He's like, "But," and I'm like, "But what? Is there a sign on the door that says authorized personnel only?" Which I probably would have ignored, but he's like, "No." I'm like, "Then what's the big deal?" So right before we're gonna leave the arts building, dude, I look like I came out of the shower. I am soaked from head to toe. Okay.
Yeah.
It was so humid and hot. And the lady got up to talk to somebody at the desk. So I walked behind the desk and I went to open the theater door, and it was locked. And then when she came back to her desk, there were two theater doors. So then I went to the other one, tried to open it, and it was locked. I'm like, "Oh, well, I guess we're not getting in." It's called Moy's Hall. "I guess we're not getting into Moy's Hall. It's locked." That's fair. Let's go to the next building. So, um, just stuff like that. It seems like we've been doing a lot of stuff like that. And it's been fun to explore with him and to just be like, "Hey, you're not doing anything wrong. And if somebody doesn't like that we're there, then they'll just tell us, 'What are you doing here? Can we help you?'" And then you be honest, right? You tell them, "This is what I'm doing here. Can you help?" And who knows, they may help and they may not, but that's life. And I said to him, someday somebody might come up to you and ask you for help, right? Or you may discover somebody and then think to yourself, "I wonder if I can honestly help this individual," just like when my father and I were out and about and people honestly helped us or whatever, right? So there's my story as I'm looking for this photo that I want to show you of this design and costume place. I'm like, "Oh, Chris would love this." He's like,
Cool.
he's like, "Clough?" And I'm like, "How many Chris's do I know?" It was funny. Yeah. So anyway, is there anything else that you want to hit on before we go?
No, man. I like how you have two different profile quotes. "Am I awake?" and "Yo, I'm here," on each of your, between the iPad and the computer. It is pretty remarkable considering
This is the door of the costume shop, and you'll see that there's a keypad, so not anybody can just go in there. And then I went up to the window and I took a picture of the inside. And you can't see it well, but you can see there's different workstations. There's different costumes that are there, and it's like I was like, this has got to be a theater person's dream. Like everything you need and want in that room to create what you need to create. So
I like it.
Anyway, sorry, what were you saying?
I just say I'm mind blown at the difference. Like, just the light that your laptop picks up is like bullshit, man.
100%.
And I'm looking at your iPad, like, look how crisp it is, and you're in the same light. Like that's a weird ass camera that's on there.
It's messed. I'm not happy.
The iPad camera, obviously, is that the front facing camera you're on?
Yeah.
Like that, like just the difference is mind blowing.
I know.
Like you're not blown out by the overhead light that must be just like kind of just above your head there a little bit. And if you were to look at your laptop, it looks like you're sitting in a darkened room.
I know, it's horrible. This is horrible.
Like it is quite strange. Now I wonder if the camera on your laptop would adjust if you close the curtain behind you.
It would.
Because do you know what I mean? Like I think the exposure is ramped way down because of the direct light coming in through the window. I think the sensor on it's doing that.
I know, but this laptop got good reviews. I bought it for a reason. Obviously, it's not like, the camera's not the best, but I'm really happy that my iPad stepped up to the plate and
it worked out well.
Is decent. Rochelle said she's getting Phantom of the Opera vibes.
It's a good
really
vibe.
Cool. Yeah, it's a good vibe. And I've never seen Phantom of the Opera. I'd love to see that someday. When it was in Toronto, we never went to see that. So
I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it live either. So my in-laws, I think Karen's parents, I think her mom, it's one of her faves. I think. I think Karen's seen it at least once. I watched the movie.
I've never seen the movie either, but I've seen Les Mis, and I've seen that show twice, and I loved it both times.
Yeah, I've seen Les Mis. Les Mis is good. Yep, Les Mis is good.
It's no Clough production, but it'll do.
Oh, easy, easy. Whoa, 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 whoa.
And Gary says he enjoyed it. Gary, I'm not going to tell your bagel story. We'll leave that for another day.
Love it.
I love that too. Gary's involved. Gary's involved in some of my stories. Anyway, so yeah, I'm traveling, and it's been fun. It's been fun, but man, I'm not built for long drives anymore. My rear end was like falling asleep in the car, and I'm like, man, I got to get up and move.
You got a long drive.
But I also want to make time, right? That's also important as a dad shoes. I want to make time. You can't make time and wake up your butt. You can't have both. You're gonna have to pick one. Right? This is like I could make a meme, like an old man meme.
Yeah.
An old man dad meme, like when you're driving long trips, you want to make time. Like you have three things. You can only pick two of these things. You can't have all three.
Anyway, true.
Sorry. You were saying?
Oh no, I was going to say, yeah, like I'm more and more feeling like I just want to take public transportation places. So just to not, so I almost, because it completely interrupts this idea of making time. You are bound to the schedule. I think there's something reliable and comforting in that, I guess.
I appreciate that because when we were in Montreal, we were thinking about going to different places, and the metro was right there. And I'm like, I'm not taking the metro. And my son's like, oh, we're not even going to consider it. I said, no, we're not. I'm not considering it. I don't know it here. I don't want to get to know it here. I don't understand it here. And then when we were in downtown Ottawa, I know transit, but I was like, no, I'll just get an Uber, and we used Uber, and my son was like, well, Lyft, which I don't, anyway. My son was looking at me like, are we really doing this? Because again, his vision of me is, no, I will walk, or I will drive my car, or I will walk to where I'm going. And that's just how it's going to be with dad. And then he's like, we're going to take a car and it's not ours. I'm like, yeah, I know it's weird, kid, but I'm trying to save time. I'm trying to be efficient with our time. That's the only reason why I'm doing this, because we have some time crunch, and let's make it happen. Let's make it work. Rochelle says she saw it in Kitchener when she was a teenager. That's cool. I didn't know that it was in Kitchener or some form of it. That's really cool.
That Phantom show got around.
Did it really? I don't know. Like, okay.
And it's been around for a while, so it's seen Toronto several times, and I'm sure it's done Hamilton and Kitchener and London.
And I'm sure
as long as they have the theater space for it. And I think downtown Kitchener has like a professional
Center in the Square, it's called.
Center in the Square, that's it.
Well, I think that's it on my end for now.
Good, man. I can hear the shifting happening upstairs.
What do you want? One of my mom's cats is talking to me. He's very vocal.
I heard it.
Yeah. Okay, come on over. My mom has 2 cats. It's funny. Anyway.
Sounds like Ollie will do that too, kind of.
Oh, Ollie's a talker? Hey, come here. Come up here. Who knows? Maybe you see the cat before. This cat is like, I leave my bedroom door open a crack, and in the middle of the night, as I'm sleeping, this thing will just be walking on me, and then literally drop down beside me and sleep beside me in the middle of the night as I'm asleep. And then the other one, yeah, that one's very social. And the other one is like not happy that we're here.
Yeah.
She's like, get the F away from me at all times.
That's it. The territory.
I'm glad that this episode happened because it didn't look like it was going to at first.
We made it.
We made it. Any final words?
Nope. Just a hello to Gary and Rochelle, and bye-bye to Gary and Rochelle. Go do some stuff that makes summer memorable. That's all. Go do stuff.
Yeah, thanks for hanging out with us, Gary and Rochelle, and anybody else who did listen or is listening. Thanks. That's it for the second episode of Summer School.
Mm-hmm.
But season 9, episode 38, number 386 of the Decoded Podcast. Have a good one, everybody.
Peace, man. Happy summer.